number, right? But I hear it as a homonym. 144 is an angel. One angel thou seeing, meaning being sent by one angel, right? So now we have the angel that's the star seed, because you got to be a star seed to be an angel, but you also have to be realized. That means you can't be three-fifth compromised. Only know your uh, mind and your body and your sex drive. You have to also know your spirit and your soul to be five-fifth realized. So now you see what the Dred Scott case is really about. The three-fifth compromise is those who's classified as imbeciles in law. The five-fifth realize is those who know who they are and stand up for their sovereign position in the community and declare their right to reclaim their community and heal it. Right? So when I see the 144,000 star seed, I do not see the same thing that the average person is looking at. Nor do I
Okay,
see the religious context either.
okay, let's get to the next question. Ashley wants to know, can Rod talk about the government structure we had in place before in the role of John Hanson, if any?
So, John Hanson is one of the Moors that signed the contract in the blood of Crispus Attucks, the first to die in the so-called American Revolution. They had to write the contract in the blood of one of us in order for it to be a standing contract on this land, because the blood of the righteous shall not be shed in vain. So it had to be given a purpose. So they wrote the contract, the original contract. John Hanson was in on it. So when we talking about the Continental Congress, we talking about being infiltrated, because the Continental Congress would have never been overthrown, and the Continental Congress was the ones who transcribed the Iroquois Constitution onto paper and gave it to the invader conquistadors, right? So a lot of us, don't want us to know that John Hanson was dark skinned with woolly hair, because they want you to think the white man is white, but the white man ain't white. When you want to know who was involved, all you got to do is look in the George Washington Masonic Memorial Fez collection, and you'll see all of the Moors that gave up their fezzes, but you will not find the feathers of the chiefs, because they made the contract with something called a Dawes Road Indian. They didn't make the contract with the true indigenous people of the land. But under the contract, we can't reclaim it until the expiration of the contract, in order that none of the righteous blood be spilled in vain. It's a blood oath. And in the process, we could have been ended the contract because they violated all of their terms. The problem is none of the chiefs was allowed to exercise the power to throw them off the land because they murdered them. When they was telling us about strange fruit from Billie Holiday, those were chiefs they were hanging. Those were the soldiers on the land that was rallying the troops to reclaim the land, and they was murdering them, tarring and feathering them. Why they tarring and feathering them? They was making a mockery of our culture because we eat chicken. Because when Big Mama, we go to Big Mama house, they probably still do it in the NO. You go to Big Mama house, she used to have a big bowl of chicken covered with a towel on the counter. We didn't have no potato chips, Doritos, none of that shit. She have a pot of corn on the cob, cut in, little sections. But this is what they used to give us for snacks. And she have a bowl of cornbread cut up in squares on the counter. So when we went to Big Mama house, Big Mama boys, because they're gonna always love chicken. They're gonna always eat a whole lot of chicken, because that's what Big Mama gave them. That was a snack. It's the greatest of comfort foods is the snacks, right? So the government that they had in place, the Continental Congress, was to undermine the Confederation of Nations that was already agreements between all of the people on the land. Together, we might fight all the time. Me and Blue Pill might bop each other upside the head, but don't come over here fucking with us because then you're gonna make both of us turn around and be like, "Who the fuck is you?" Right? Because when we understand who he is, we don't kill each other. The enemy taught us to kill each other. We didn't know killing each other until the enemy brought it over here. Every time we organize, they infiltrate. Every time we build, they tear down or they take it from us. So they don't never want us getting the word out of why did Malcolm really leave the Nation of Islam. So Elijah Muhammad could see all of the rats that was laying right next to him that he couldn't see. Malcolm named them all in the public domain, and now you know he's talking to Elijah, and he ain't talking to the police, and he ain't talking to the general public because he say the police already know this. The only person don't know who the traitors is Elijah. That's why he sent Malcolm to run the red herring, draw the heat. Them the same niggas that clearance 13X. Father God Allah, 5% Nation, for building with the youth, for taking errant youth off the street, for giving them the understanding that they God within and they use a God within as the first frame of reference for creativity in this world. We can't have him teaching that to them. They gonna fuck around and wake up. Kill him. They murdered him. Brutally. Right? Then the newspaper try to slant all different kind of ways about it so you can't even get to the truth of the matter. They look like us, but they ain't us. Right? So they paid the pale man that they brought over here with them, the Tawny Moors, to be out front to keep us out of their lodges. So they can use our shit to keep us in servitude. So Prince Hall infiltrated, but he didn't have the master key to Garvey got here on the Blue Lodge. And so Noble Jew Ali infiltrated. If you know his history, you know he went and got the keys from the Moorish Zionist temple. And when they realized what happened, it was too late. He was gone. He left New Jersey and came to Chicago. And he set up in Detroit. And he began to teach the doctrine. But everybody in there not gonna know what he's talking about. But what they do, they killed him. The niggas look like us. They own the police. They kids don't never get in trouble. But they make sure ours do. They always find a way to get theirs out. But they don't get ours out because they don't want us to grow up knowing who the fuck we is. Right? So once we become conscious, each one teach one. We all gonna reach them. Use whatever platform you got to tell it to the people in the best way you can in order to get the message across in the way that you know how. Don't worry about nobody else's part, just do yours. If we all do our own part, don't worry about who else doing their part. We can get this shit done in short order. You know? So this take us back to the Free Larry Hoover agenda. Because all this tied to it. Reclaiming the land is to put the leaders that belong on the land where they belong so they can raise these matriarchs back to prominence. Because as Elijah said, a nation can rise no higher than its women. And our women has been being subjugated by somebody that don't belong here.
All right, let's get to the next question. This question, hold up. This question is for Blue and Rod. Is it possible that we are artificial intelligence from the future who have traveled to the past to have a human experience?
You want to take that first, Blue, or you want me to take it first?
That's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. Simply because when I was growing up reading certain religious texts and I was looking at inscriptions on walls and monuments and all of that, I just always felt that I was reading history backwards. I was like, "Oh, this is from the future. We ain't even get here yet to do this. We reading about something that we've yet to do." If I'm to buy into the concept or theory of evolution, it don't make sense. It cancels itself out just with basic logic. That how are these monuments? How are these inscriptions in stone? How are they possible without diamond tip instruments? The particular mathematics on these monuments is precise, the golden means and phi and everything. I'm like, this doesn't make sense to the quote unquote logical mind. Do I think that I'm AI from the future though coming back? No, I don't. I don't necessarily think that. But I do acknowledge the fact that when I have encounters with crafts, things of that nature, there's an aspect of that I feel is quantum. That may be me in my future, body or encasement coming back, like how they showed you in X-Men, past and present. But I'm not AI. Mm.
Um, we are sentient intelligence, quantum intelligence, actually, but we're not artificial intelligence. Um, the physical body is not us. The physical body is based on a form of technology. And the form of technology that it's based on is organic, silicon based, or carbon based, actually,
Carbon based, right?
phalanx
It's
nanotech.
it's almighty intelligence.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But it's still nanotech. You still
Hmm.
have self replicating nanotechnology at play. The study of the human organism or the living organism, where the cells, the DNA split and recombine to form a different helix, right? That understanding of that science gave birth to what we call nanotech, um, the study of it. So when they study in biology, they're trying to figure out how did God put this mechanism together and how can we duplicate it, right? So there's a book about 4 volumes called Mendelian Inheritance in Man, and it has the DNA encoding for each codon.
Mm.
If you know what you're looking for, you can unravel the mystery of the DNA. The DNA is a self-replicating organic capacitor that is powered by a mitochondrial matrix to allow this consciousness that exists in a neutron star to be funneled into your physical self. Once it funnels into your physical self, this is what you call the burning. The burning is the soul's fire inside of the organism. And the burning requires oxygen for the combustion. The combustion is the oxidization of the metals in the blood that generates the color of the blood. When you study, you see that in ancient times we had green hue. The green hue was not everybody, it was certain ones, and they were primarily magnesium base over copper base, right? So they was copper and magnesium instead of iron and magnesium, I mean copper. The iron oxidization caused the rusting and the ruddy red complexion. When the magnesium and the copper begin to oxidize, they be turned green. So some of the babies are still born with the green hue because their magnesium levels that they drew from the mother is sufficient enough to facilitate that transfer of oxidization in the blood. They doctors tell you it's bruising from being in the womb. That ain't no goddamn bruise. Because if it was, it would be sore to the touch when you touch it,
Hmm.
right? So it ain't no bruise. It's a coloration from magnesium synthesis in the fetal as it developed because it drew more magnesium than iron from mama.
Yeah.
Because she probably didn't have sufficient quantities of iron, and the baby is going to
Right.
take the magnesium to replace it.
And that's key because both of those deficiencies impact melanated people specifically, and that's a cause, they say, for the majority, once again, of the uptick of diseases, right? Because you need comparable parts of magnesium to actually activate calcium in your body for it to work. So they wasn't lying when they said milk does a body good. What I meant by that, not milk, but calcium. But you can't use calcium unless you have equal parts magnesium. And then the iron deficiency, 90% of people in this country is iron deficient, but it impacts melanated people more specifically because you can tell by our the numbers, the larger numbers that we have with sickle cell infliction. You know what I'm saying? So that iron and that magnesium, those are two key elements or minerals, you know.
Hmm.
Especially the iron in the women. When the women become iron deprived, they have prolonged menstrual cycles, painful menstrual cycles, and heavy bleeding. And when they are in stasis with the metals in their blood system, they have shorter periods with lesser amounts of blood. Some of them just spot, right? They don't have a full fledged flowing menstrual like other women. But it goes back to the chemistry. You know, what metals do you hold on? Magnesium is actually a synthesizer for all of the trace metals that the body uses. And the vitamin C is the synthesizer for all of the rest of the vitamins. You can't use it without it.
Let's get to the next question. How do we as a collective raise the matriarch? Are we getting further away from such?
Actually, the calling for Larry Hoover to come forth in order to raise the matriarchy, the three chieftains of the land, the three high chiefs' job is to first come forward and give a report to the people on the conditions of the land, and then introduce them to the grand matriarch on the land. So this instrumental and it's direct and it's almost here. Soon as enough of us understand what's going on in our culture, we can raise the matriarchy once again, and that is the restoration of ultimate balance on earth.
Indeed. Let's get to somebody said, what are the best iron tablets?
Um,
Yeah, we
I
don't.
got a herbalist that I get that information from. He normally have his own, so I'm not really sure
Yeah.
what one to refer you to because this is a lot of good.
We always spoke about iron phosphate. That's plant-based iron. And you can get that in liquid form. You can get it from my mother now. She got a sale. She got a sale on the website greenleaf-herbs.com. Right. You get the oxyhemo. That's their classical iron tonic. Right. That's the classical iron tonic. So yeah, that was the key to a lot of what Sabi did in this healing modality is he was able to utilize iron phosphate, which is absorbable and integratable, especially by the melanated body.
Another
Right.
thing about iron oxide is it's already used anyway, and you can't use something that's already been used. And oxidized iron is rust.
Mm-hmm. All right, next question. Lakasha wants to know any connection between left hand people, dyslexia, and the world presented to us upside down slash backwards.
It's a 100% correlation because we're supposed to be ambidextrous first off,
Mm,
but because they teach us to be left brain dominant, most people are right-handed because the right hand is controlled by the left brain. The right brain dominant, which is the mother brain, abstract, is left-handed. When you learn to become ambidextrous, you're learning to use both sides of your brain, right? And the world being presented to us upside down and backwards makes it easier to trap you only on one side of the brain.
Blue, you want to add anything to that, Blue, or for?
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much covered it. You know what I'm saying? We've continuously said that, in the upside down, topsy turvy world, if you can't orientate yourself, how can you pivot? How can you do whatever's necessary if you don't know what angle that you're coming from? And I also spoke about the physical experience I had when I traveled across the Atlantic Ocean. I said what? I said I activated the other hemisphere of my brain. I was dual hemispheric thinking when I came back. I understood shit better. I was calculating at a much my body, the homeostasis of my body started becoming balanced because I did not actively activate the other hemisphere of my brain. I was just stuck in Western thought and in the West, physically located in the Western hemisphere.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? So,
mm,
and then metaphysically or metaphorically, what they say that is two hemispheres of your brain. That's the eastern and the western, and the middle column is the middle passage. So that would be the Atlantic Ocean. So when I
mm,
crossed that ocean, I had got dual hemispheric activation. So yeah.
indeed. All right,
And
we're
then when
gonna.
I came back, I've been practicing techniques to brush with my opposite hand.
You
Like you
mentioned
said,
you mentioned that before. Yeah,
to
you
bring
mentioned that.
about
Yeah.
the ambidextrous nature of utilizing both hemispheres.
I make sure one thing I do, family. I told y'all I developed the practice of writing my affirmations with my left hand, and I started doing that during the making of Holy Ghost One, the album with me and Cambada. It just came to my mind to write affirmations with my left hand, and it worked for me. So yeah, man, that us being ambidextrous makes a lot of sense, family. I'm gonna take five more questions. Then we're gonna get out of here. Don't want to hold the brother too long, but I know you're enjoying the show. We're gonna get to the next question. Ashley wants to know how can we identify the black conquistadors today? Any tips for identifying the enemy? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You sound.
Anybody tell you to get some paperwork to validate who you is a slave catcher. If they tell you you got to file anything with this defunct system to validate who you are, they're a slave catcher. If they ain't out slave catching, look for the one that come around in a peaceful group, always trying to sow seeds of dissension. That's their job. When they catch a righteous congregated, they want to start some shit between two of them, right? So this is the identifier of the character type. They can't help it. They can't stand to see us getting along. They can't stand to see us talking about ousting them from off our land for the atrocity they committed on our people. They're gonna find every excuse to try to tell you that you black. You ain't black. Crayons is black. So when you show me somebody that can match a crayon, I done seen some people match a purple one, but before I done seen people match a black one, right? But those are the telltale signs that they trying to trap you back into slavery again and revalidate their old defunct contracts. Their contracts is up. Their time is up, right? But that's how you identify 'em. They come in talking about the people of the land, don't know what they talking about, and that you need to come down here and file this paperwork and give me some money. Anybody that's overcharging you for services to give you back your history, they ain't us. I do this shit for free because we need to wake the fuck up. They not gonna do nothing for free. They want you to pay them at every turn, right? They not interested in the liberation of the people. They live interested in how can they be comfortable living over the people that subjugate. We
Yeah,
don't want to
not the
liberate.
liberation of the people, the liquidation of the people.
Yeah. So that's how you can tell the difference.
Can he speak on the Indians they taught us about in school through the Trail of Tears?
So that's the great exodus from the so-called Bible stories. The Trail of Tears was actually a POW march. They was trying to find somewhere to put these people without them alerting other people. So the Trail of Tears is called that for more than one reason, but the main reason is because the sorrow that came along with it and inflicted a lot of misery. And it was Dawes Roll Indians incorporated with the indigenous people of the land. The Dawes Roll Indians ain't from here. Those are the ones that they created the contracts with, pretending that they were us.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to take it off mute, family. Are there really pyramids in the Grand Canyon?
It's pyramids all over the world. You can't go nowhere on Earth and not find some pyramids somewhere. Some of them they told you was mountains are not mountains, but pyramids covered with trees.
Right there in Ohio.
You said in Ohio, Blue?
It's all kind of pyramidal structures, mound structures. We was mound builders,
Yeah, all over.
you know. So it's all over the land. It's not hard. You can Google that shit. It's easy to find. They'll show you where it's at, and then tell you didn't see what you just saw. You can go there and literally see it with your own eyes. Walk on the pyramid, and then they're gonna tell you that it wasn't what you thought it was. Imagine the audacity of that.
Yeah.
You've been there, and they tell you it ain't that.
That's a fact.
they,
You,
they
it's like I know what this is,
they be
and
like,
they'll
nah.
even.
They be like, nah. Be like, nah. Man. The Torch wants to know: is there any of us that did go to Africa?
That was the Liberia movement. They actually took a whole bunch of us to
Yeah,
Africa.
yeah, he took a lot.
They took more of us to Africa than they brought Africans over here.
Hmm.
They was trying to get us off the land because the only way they can reclaim the land is it has to be abandoned. That means it don't have a caretaker. That's the only way they can claim the land. But we still here. They thought we wasn't gonna never figure out who we was, but we ain't never forget. Everybody that's probably watching this, somebody in their family talking about we got Indian in our family. No, we don't got Indian. We are the Indian families.
Hmm.
We the ones. We was already here.
Two more. Well, we'll see. How do you feel about exploding head syndrome and deja vu?
Well, deja vu is more my territory than exploding head syndrome. I'm not quite familiar with that term. But deja vu, it can come from a series of things because nothing is new under the sun. And sometimes the circumstances is so similar to a circumstance in a past life till it's almost identical. And you have an aha moment. I did this before. You did do it before, but only you had on blue pants instead of green ones. That was the thing that was different. When you have a deja vu, figure out what's different. Then you know that, oh, okay, I experienced it in the last life, one of these prior lifetimes, and only it was a little bit different.
Mhm. Um, Romana says, "Can someone please talk about melanated women being having Rh negative blood?"
It's not just melanated people, it's also unmelanated people that have Rh negative blood. Contrary to popular opinion, the largest cross section of Rh negative in the melanated community is O negative, right? And that's they call it a universal blood type. And they can give anybody blood, but they can't take blood from anybody, only from certain ones, right? But yeah, so the melanated woman is a original bloodline of the negative blood, the Rh negative blood. But they're not the only ones. It's across all communities have Rh negative blood.
Mhm. All right. Can you ask him to speak on the? Oh no, we already went over that question. Uh, these are. Let me see. Talk about Jesus is actually ISIS.
All you got to do is go back to the Greek. If you go back to the Greek, the spelling for the word that they translating as Jesus is Iesous. In the Greek pronunciation, the capital I automatically silences the E, goes hard on the S, silences the O, go hard on the US. It's ISIS. One language back. That's all you got to do.
All right, we're gonna take one more question, then I'm gonna let these gentlemen close it out. Who was the first to actually civilize the white man?
The white man. The white man ain't white, first off. And at some point in time, all people have decided to live what we would consider in this day and time a savage lifestyle. But Mother Nature does that for a reason. Everything she do is for a reason, but we don't always understand it.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up with that. I'm trying to see if there's all right. Well, this is the last one. Last one. Who were the Washita Moors? What about the Empire Washita de Mundia? I hope I'm saying that.
Yeah, so that translates as the empire of the Washita mound builders. And the Washita Moors was restored under Empress Tierra Verdiasi Gostinel Bay. It's like, in one thing you need gas for power, another thing you need electric for
Exactly.
power,
Yeah.
right? Some stuff you use water for power,
Mm-hmm.
right? So some things you use coal for power. You use
Mm-hmm.
different stuff. It's just like different crystals have different properties,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
So the stone that Stone Mountain is organically made of. It's formed into a actual crystalline structure. It's a
Mm-hmm.
pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the older ones because the oldest ones grow forests on them and they call them mountains.
Mm-hmm.
But after
Mm-hmm.
sitting for so long unused, they get covered with soot. The soot turns to dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Then vegetation gonna naturally spring from the dirt. It's the
Yeah.
law of nature.
Uh-huh.
This just
Yes,
like the
sir.
Great Pyramid of China, right? Pull up Black Pyramid of Alaska,
Okay, give me 1 second. You keep talking. I'm gonna pull it up. Right.
right? So when you understand that we was here, the mission is follow the biblical code. The biblical code is a supplanter code. What is a supplanter? It's an underminer. Who is the supplanter? Jacob. Who did he supplant? Esau. What's the description of Esau? He was ruddy red and hairy. The red man is who? The red man of the Americas. The ruddy red man is dark ass red.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they put ruddy in front of it instead of just red. One.
Mm. So this is in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
So what's up? What's the science on this right here, Rod? What's this? What's going on with this right here?
That's we had to stop using that one because they opened a portal Stargate. The Stargate portal was part of a 3-point flux on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
It went from this pyramid system
Mm-hmm.
to La Palma to southwestern Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And in that's how the enemy was able to escape the last great cleanup to get
Mm.
wicked off of Earth. So when you read in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, he said that the Dark Brothers had escaped. You know, when he got rid of them the first time, they was able to be called back in by the priests of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
He also tell you about creating Egypt in the Emerald Tablets too.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this is known to what you call academic scientists, right? Egyptologists knew this already, right? World historians knew it already. It's a secret
Mm.
kept in the Masonic Lodge, and you ain't supposed to know, and I'm telling it
Yes, sir. How do you know, brother?
because I studied the Masonic Lodge to find out what they teach. And when I found out what they teach, I began to study how they communicate. And once I studied how they communicate, I began to be able to read their language. And I
Mm-hmm.
could tell you what they're saying in the signs and symbols because I study signs and symbols.
Mm-hmm.
All of their information is public information.
Mm-hmm.
The only secret is you ain't supposed to know you organic to the land until you wake up of your own accord.
Mm-hmm.
The first one wake up, his job is to wake everybody else up. He become the alarm clock. Well, here I am, screaming like a motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Rod, I heard you talk about in another interview also remote viewing. Now you talked earlier about voodoo and how they called it evil. A lot of this, the our ancient sciences, our people consider pseudo bullshit or whatever word, verb, adjective you want to use, but they just think it's some hocus pocus shit. Could you talk to us about remote viewing? Do you use it? How effective it is? All that stuff, my brother.
I do use control find out events, and I need to go back and see what they were. I use the techniques that was developed by the CIA called control remote viewing.
Mm,
Made a parody in a movie called Being Men Who Stare at Goats,
mm,
right? But it's based on a true story. When they dismantled Germany, Russia got all of the kooky sciences that they call fringe sciences. America got all the technicians in Operation Paperclip. Look it up. Operation Paperclip, when they began to find out the Russians knew all of the intelligence, but they couldn't figure out how they was doing it until a KGB agent defected and told them that they were using psychic spies to spy on America. So America commissioned the military to study it and find out if it's possible to create a psychic spy. And they formulated a technique called controlled remote viewing, where you can develop the mind to see distant places, what they call bilocation in your vision, where your mind can go to a place where your body can't.
that's powerful. So, is this something? that we're all naturally gifted with? Is just something we knew how to do when we was young and we forgot because of the indoctrination? Is it hard? What would you say to somebody who wants a remote view right now, controlled remote view right now?
So it's instructional videos on YouTube from the creators, but I use the manual personally as my study guide. The manual you can pick it up on Amazon for about $10
Mm,
or less if it's used. But
mm,
the thing about it is it's the same technique as tarot card reading.
mm,
It's just in tarot card you are learning more detailed tuning of the senses than you do in control remote viewing. But the benefit of learning control remote viewing is it's applicable sooner than being able to intuit the tarot cards effectively.
mm, mm. I want to talk to you about our music. You keep
hmm
talking about the organic people of the land. Uh, is the music? What would you consider organic music? Does it matter if it's vulgar? If it talks about pussy popping, shooting this, shooting that? What do you think is? Cause maybe that might be subjective, but is hip
Our
hop?
music, no matter what our music is talking about,
Mm,
is telling us the chiefs what's going on the land.
mm,
If it's talking about pussy popping, booty shaking, if it's talking about robbing, stealing, killing, drug dealing, it's all telling. It's like a news reporter.
mm,
We can't get accurate news from the news media, but the stories that come across redundant in the rap is the grievance that's vexing the
mm,
community,
okay,
right? And those
okay,
things that come out as love stories in the song is the affection of the community.
yeah,
So
mm,
we can tell the status of relationships by the content of the love song.
yes.
So we know where the family relationships is. When we hear songs like "Ain't Nothing Going On But the Rent," we
You
understand
knew what was
that,
going on at that time.
right. We know what's going on in the community is the sisters is getting frustrated to the point where if you ain't bringing something to the table, they not letting you sit down,
Right.
right? So, cause in our real culture, our women will give you all of the money if you about something.
Mm,
But so many of them got burnt by motherfuckers that was a waste of space and taking up oxygen that real people could be breathing. They become scorned, and then they start telling the next dude, "Ain't nothing going on but the rent."
got to have a job. If you wanna play with me, I know the
That
song.
means that our
It's
man,
going
see,
on,
the
but the
woman don't
rent.
really care if you got a job or not. She'll go get one.
Facts, facts,
But you
facts.
got to be willing to pick up the slack where she fall off. If she go out and work, you got to be willing to do the housework, right? Some women don't want to stay at home for raising the kids for 30 years. They want to go out and experience the world as a worker,
Mm-hmm.
right? Worker give them the opportunity to meet new friends, form new alliances, and find out what's going on with the sisters across the land. So some of them have to work. It's ingrained in them to do this investigation. So the
Mm,
guy that they pick have to be willing to understand the culture enough to know that when a woman is trying to work, she ain't just trying to go to work.
mm,
She's
mm,
trying to find out what we need to be doing in our relationship to help the land heal,
mm,
right? Heal the people on the land. We more concerned about our people than we are about ourselves,
mm, mm,
because the plight of our people is going to be the overall plight of our children,
mm,
right? So if we could care about the future, we have to protect the future by protecting the children, right? Because when we get done raising the children, guess what they go own? The future.
mm,
So we own the now. As the adults and as the elders, we own the now. That's our job. But what we gonna do with it in order for it to be a benefit for our children so that the future they shouldn't have to solve the same stupid problems that we working with that our parents didn't solve, right?
facts.
So they got us fighting for civil rights Civil rights is fighting to be a part of a corporation as a civil servant.
Mm.
As a civil servant, you become a trustee in a slave camp,
Mm. Mm.
right? But we didn't know it. That's why Martin came out when Elijah told him what was going on, because he didn't know, right? So when Elijah came out and told him what was going on, he told us, I think I might, or he told Harry Belafonte, I think I might have integrated my people into a burning house.
Mm.
What is he talking about? The fall of America. Elijah Muhammad wrote a book called The
Mm.
Fall of America,
Mm.
right? So all of these things become relevant. When you listen to him explaining and vexing his grievance on the